It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Hello, my amazing souls. Welcome back to the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices. I'm Kelly Hint, Queen Bee of this hive, your guide on this journey of empowerment, self-discovery, and all things badass. Today, we're diving into a topic that's as tricky as it is transformative. Forgiveness. Yep, we're talking about what it means to forgive in various relationships, whether it be family, romantic, or social. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get real about this. All right, first things first. Let's clear up some misconceptions about forgiveness. It's a big, juicy topic, but here's the tea. Forgiveness is not about saying what you did was okay. It is not about forgetting the hurt or pretending that everything's perfect. Forgiveness is about releasing the hold that pain has on you. It's a choice to let go of resentment and reclaim your power. Now, what forgiveness is not? It's not a free pass for anyone who's wronged you to keep doing it. It's not about denying your feelings or minimizing the impact of someone's actions. And most importantly, forgiveness does not mean that you have to continue a relationship with the person who hurt you. You can forgive and still set boundaries of your choice. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, the pros and cons of forgiving someone. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, and sometimes it's okay to hold off on forgiveness. So within family relationships, for example, forgiving family can bring peace to those big holiday dinners and help you reconnect on a deeper level. It's a chance to break generational cycles of grudges and bitterness. It can help you to gain a deeper understanding of the person that hurt you. And as far as the not so fabulous forgiveness in family relationships, sometimes family can be the hardest to forgive because the expectations and emotional stakes are high. Forgiving does not mean tolerating toxic behavior. If someone in your family continues to hurt you, forgiveness might come with a big side of boundaries. For example, you may decide to forgive a family member who hurt you, but discontinue having a relationship with them. And that's okay too. And as far as romantic relationship goes, forgiveness with your partner can heal wounds and strengthen your bond. It can bring back the intimacy and trust that might have been lost. But you have to be really careful not to confuse forgiveness with accepting disrespect or abuse. Forgiving your partner for being human and making mistakes is one thing. Accepting harmful behavior is another. Always prioritize your well-being above all else. And then in social relationships, forgiving friends or colleagues can make your social life smoother. It can reduce the drama, and it can help you maintain a supportive circle. But not every friend deserves a place in your life. If someone is consistently negative or hurtful, forgiveness does not mean keeping them around. It is okay to forgive and move on. So take a second to think about a scenario in your life where maybe you are considering forgiveness, and really kind of chew on this as I go over this part. So, should you forgive? Well, that's a question only you can answer. But here are some reasons why you might choose to forgive. The first one, the biggest one, is for your own peace. Holding on to anger and resentment can be exhausting. Trust me on this one. I've done that. Letting go can free you from that emotional baggage. And then this other part, to heal. For me, that was my number one reason why I chose to forgive my past abusers. Sometimes forgiveness is part of your healing journey. It's a way to close a chapter and start a new one. And then for growth, forgiveness can actually help you grow stronger and wiser. It can teach you about compassion, resilience, and self-love. You know, it may sound really weird to hear this, but for those of you who have listened to other episodes of this podcast, you know that there are people who have both sexually and physically assaulted me. And this is where the weird part comes in. I have actually forgiven all the people who have done said things to me. And it did come later on in life. It took me many, many years. It took me on a healing journey of my own. But when I stopped to think about all of the people who hurt me and all of the things that have been done to me, when I would sit and think about it and ruminate on it, it was making me miserable. It was making me feel sorry for myself. It was making me feel angry and resentful towards the world. I felt stuck. I could not get out of it. I would think to myself, what did I ever do to deserve any of that? And of course, the answer was nothing. And it just took me on this spiral downwards. When we get lost in our ruminations and we're chewing on the fact that the world is not fair and that we have been wronged, guess what? You're not going anywhere. You're staying stuck in that moment and you're not going to get out of it. And I made a decision that I did not want to live my life like that any longer. I was done. I was so tired of feeling drowned in my trauma, feeling stuck in this cycle of anger and hatred, because I won't lie, I had hatred towards people who hurt me. And letting go of that hate was the best but hardest thing that I have ever done in my entire life. But let me tell you, it was so incredibly freeing. But before you make the decision whether or not you're ready to forgive, let's talk about maybe why you might not be ready to forgive. So, for example, if the wound is too fresh, if the hurt is still raw, you have got to give yourself time. Forgiveness is a process, not a rush job. And don't let anyone tell you that you have to hurry up and forgive. And I say this as a mother who wishes her children at times had been able to forgive quicker or even at all. I understand that parents are not perfect and sometimes they need to be forgiven too. And it is really important as a parent not to push forgiveness onto our kids. Like, we can't demand that they forgive us for something when we've screwed up. We need to just kind of keep that door open for when they want to walk back through it. And obviously there are things that I will not talk about on this podcast, because some of my own wounds are still too fresh. But I try to give grace to others' healing process and know that their timeline is going to be different than mine. And so I I see various family members struggling to forgive other family members. And while it is maddening to me because I know how good it feels to forgive, how good it feels to no longer be stuck, I still can't rush that process for them. I can't fix their relationships for them. They need to figure out how to forgive and move forward. And the other part, another reason why you might not be ready to forgive someone is that the person has not changed. If the person who hurt you is not willing to change or apologize, forgiveness might not be on the table right now. And let me tell you, that one is a challenge. It is a huge challenge because you may want to move forward, but the other person is not willing to change or not willing to say they're sorry for the thing that hurt you. And if that's the case, you've got to work on yourself and being okay with that, because that person may never change. And you may have to wait until time heals you a little bit before you can move towards forgiveness. Because again, you can forgive and move forward and never speak to someone ever again. And then the last one here is a big one. If it's not safe, like in cases of abuse or harm, forgiveness might feel impossible, and that's okay. Your safety and your mental health come first. And I am not so narcissistic that I believe that my way is the best way and that everybody has to do what I have done. I do not believe that at all. I'm just sharing some of my own experiences with forgiveness to add a little bit of information for you to consider when you consider your own journey and where you are with forgiveness, or if you need to be forgiven. Forgiveness is a beautiful thing. I have been forgiven for some of the things that I have done to hurt other people, and that forgiveness changed my life. My husband and I have hurt each other. We have done things that are cruel to each other. And it took an awful lot. Man, it took an awful lot to work on the forgiveness piece, and it wasn't always fun. But the two of us decided that there was enough potential within each other to be able to do the work. And while forgiveness may feel like this wonderful, beautiful little honeymoon and everything's going to be fine because you've decided to forgive each other, nope, that's not how it works. It feels that way in the beginning, but then you keep rehashing the stuff you've done to each other in your head, and you have to keep forgiving over and over and over and trying to build that trust back. That's the other piece of this. Holy crap. The trust takes a long, long time to rebuild. And you need to decide if you are considering forgiving someone, if it's worth all of the effort that you, as well as they, are going to have to do. Because again, it's not easy. It is not easy to forgive and move forward. It's a process. It's not a single one-time event. And the other part of this is that you may think that you have forgiven and moved forward, and then bam, out of nowhere, something happens and triggers those feelings all over again. And you're right back to feeling like you didn't forgive the person in the first place, and you have to work really freaking hard to get back there. And it sucks. It really sucks. And I guess I'll share one of the ways that this has happened to me personally. So again, like if you've listened to the podcast before, there are individuals in my past who have either sexually or physically assaulted me. And I didn't even consider forgiveness as an option for the majority of my life. And then I grew up and I started seeing life from different angles, and I started making my own mistakes, and I started recognizing that some of that trauma in my past was actually affecting my marriage, my relationships with multiple different people, and I felt really stuck. I was acting out. I was turning into someone I didn't like. I was searching to fill this void inside of me by doing all of these unhealthy things, but I was just so desperate to patch all these holes because they were holes that men had created within me by the things that they had done to me. And so my behaviors were horrific. And eventually I got to a place of recognizing, oh, duh, ding, 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 that this is your unresolved trauma. And so I was able to do the work to heal from all of that unresolved trauma because all of it was unresolved. I had never gone to a therapist. I had never talked to anyone about the things that had happened to me. I just kind of moved forward. And I recognized that that was causing problems, and I was turning into somebody that I didn't like. So I did the really hard work of going back and revisiting my triggers and figuring out why. And so I was able to forgive, not in a sense, again, like I said at the very beginning, forgiveness is not about saying, oh, what you did was okay. Because let me freaking tell you, anytime somebody puts their hands on you in a way that you do not want them to, whether it's like just physical or just sexual, it doesn't matter. It's not okay. No means no. And end of discussion. There's no making it okay. What happened to me throughout my life was not okay. What has happened to you is not okay. The things that the people have done to you that you need to forgive them for are not okay. And they need to be able to accept that if they want to have a chance at ever being forgiven by you and being a part of your life again. I'll tell you that right now. For me, my past abusers are not part of my life, but I was able to forgive them. And I did it for me. I didn't do it for them. Don't get me wrong. I am not some altruistic person who is so wonderful and forgiving and full of sunshine and rainbows. Hell no. I'm angry and I'm crabby and I get bitchy and I'm not a perfect person. I don't try to pretend I'm a perfect person, which is why I believe in forgiveness, because I want to be forgiven. When I screw up, I want to be forgiven. And so I need to extend that to others. But I never thought it was applicable to people who had abused me. But when I recognized that it was weighing me down so much, I decided, no, I've got to heal for me. And part of that is forgiveness. And so that's when I set out on my journey and I started forgiving the person or people for their mistakes. And then I thought I was through it, right? Like I'm like, oh, yay, I forgave them. I feel so much better. I'm lighter. This is great. And, moving along, life is fantastic. And then bam, someone does something that brings it all right back. And I have to forgive all over again. And it's exhausting. And let me tell you, one of the most triggering experiences for me in my lifetime was the Me Too movement. And I don't even know if I can talk about this. I don't know why I brought it up. It just kind of popped in there. To hear so many women come forward about the awful things that had been done to them, it opened up my wounds as if they just happened yesterday. It brought me back, hearing all of these stories. I felt the feelings all over again. And I was angry, and I was mad, hurt, sad. Every emotion went through me. But then I saw the healing. I saw the healing starting to happen with these women because they were taking the first steps towards forgiveness. They were verbalizing their feelings. They were acknowledging them and understanding them and educating others and bringing awareness to this dirty, disgusting, dark secret that we have in this world of the abuse that happens. And so while the Me Too movement kind of set me back a little bit in my own healing, it was a necessary part of it because I actually, that's what helped me to understand, oh, wait, forgiveness is not a one-time thing. You have to forgive over and over and over sometimes because something will happen that is just incredibly triggering. So that's what I mean when I say something can happen that can it feels like you're back to square one, but actually you're not because you've already healed and moved forward once. So that's what you need to remember. Wait a minute, I did this once. I can do it again. I'm a strong, badass woman. I can absolutely do this again because I am empowered and I have the power to do this. And so that's really what I remind myself of when I get triggered and feel like I have to forgive someone again. And also, one of the things that really helps me is I take every trauma that I've been through and I remind myself of what a frickin' badass I am. I never in a million years would have ever described myself in such a way. I would have considered that to be boastful or braggy or whatever. But you know what, girls? I am owning this. I am owning the fact that I am a badass because I have survived more crap than some of the people that I have even worked with in my therapy practice. So, do what you have to do to find your inner badass. She is in there. I promise you, ladies, she is in there. And if you can't find her, please reach out to me because I will go looking with you and we will find her together. One of the most rewarding things that I have ever done in my life is to use my pain to empower others, especially other women. And I'm never going to stop. I will never stop using my pain to help you because I need something meaningful to come from the tragedy that I have experienced in my life. And I love doing the work. I love it so much. My favorite thing in this world is to empower other women, and that's why I'm so obnoxious about it. That's why I use all the damn hashtags in my social media posts, and I don't care. My mission in this world is to empower other women. And so that's what I'm talking about. This is what forgiveness has done to me. Well, maybe I should say this is what trauma and then forgiveness has done to me. Because while I was wallowing in the effects of my trauma, I was not effective. But once I forgave and moved forward, I got real freaking sassy. I got very outspoken and I got very badass, and I'm not going back. All right, now that I got that emotional stuff out of the way, let's talk about some practical strategies. If you decide, because it's your decision, if you decide that forgiveness is for you, how do you go about it? Well, the very first step is to acknowledge your feelings. Start by recognizing how you feel, whether it's anger, sadness, or confusion. Give yourself permission to feel it all. And I'm telling you, it sucks. I am not going to lie to you. It sucks feeling all the feelings, but it is so incredibly important in the process of forgiveness. And then you've got to understand the impact. Reflect on how the situation has affected you. Understanding the impact can help you to process the hurt and move forward. That's what happened when I was trying to figure out why I was the way I was, and I recognized that my past trauma was impacting my marriage. I had to understand that so that I could move forward. And then setting boundaries. This is another super, super important piece. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting boundaries. You need to decide what is acceptable for you moving forward and stick to it. If, for example, you discover that your significant other was texting other women in an inappropriate manner, okay? A boundary could be, if you text other women like that again, we are done. I'm just like really simplifying it, but you have to stick with it. That's the thing. Because mistakes are one thing, repeated behavior is another. Just because let's say you forgive your significant other for having an emotional affair with another person, they don't get to keep doing it just because you forgave them. If your significant other grabbed you and hurt you in that manner, and you decide to forgive them, they can't do it again. That's the boundary. You do it again, we're done. And then you have to stick with it. And then the next piece of forgiveness, you've got to communicate if possible. If it is safe and if it is appropriate, have a conversation with the person. Sometimes hearing an apology or expressing your feelings can be very cathartic. For example, when my husband and I have had problems, when we have hurt one another, the conversations that happen after the incident is so healing for both of us from different perspectives. Like when my husband hurt me, seeing him be emotional and seeing how much it bothered him, how much his own behavior bothered him, that helped me to heal. And it helped me to move towards forgiveness because I am seeing in the moment visually that he has recognized that what he has done is wrong. And therefore that gives me hope that he will work on his behavior and he will move forward from it. Just like when I have done something wrong and I have become emotional as I have apologized to my husband, him seeing me be remorseful helps him to know that I'm serious about fixing this problem. I'm serious about fixing my behavior. He needed to see that so that he could forgive me and move forward. And this has been our journey throughout the last 3 decades. Now, communication isn't always possible. Like, especially in like safety situations or past situations. For me, in some of these scenarios, like some of the people who have hurt me are no longer in my life for various reasons, of which I will not disclose. And so there was no communication that was possible to move towards forgiveness. That person couldn't say anything to me because they're no longer a part of my life. So it's not always possible to have that conversation. But if it's safe and appropriate, again, have it with the person. It can help you to heal. And then, of course, practice self-compassion. Oh my gosh, be gentle with yourself. Forgiveness can be such a tough journey, and it is okay to take your time. Remember, forgiveness is on your time schedule, nobody else's. You need to take care of you first and foremost. And seek support. Do not be afraid to lean on your support system. Friends, family, coach, therapist. Sometimes talking it out helps. When you try to go through traumatic events in isolation or just uncomfortable events where you need to exercise forgiveness or want to exercise forgiveness to the person who hurt you, sometimes you got to talk it over with healthy supports. And then the last piece of this forgiveness puzzle, let go of the outcome. You've got to remember that forgiveness is for you, not for the other person. You cannot control their response, but you can control your healing. So there you have it, an honest dive into the complex world of forgiveness. Remember, forgiveness is a choice, not an obligation. It is about your healing and your empowerment, not anyone else's. Whether you choose to forgive or not, the most important thing is to honor your feelings and protect your peace. As always, thank you so much for joining me on this journey today, my honeybees. If you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who might need a little extra love and light today. And as always, keep your head high, your heart open, and your badassery on full display. Until next time, stay fierce, stay fabulous, and keep amplifying those voices. You are not just a voice in the crowd. You are a damn force to be reckoned with. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and The Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out TheCrankyCounselor.com.